what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good?
Let's talk about the FAANG stocks. So I want to educate people on what FAANG actually is because they might have heard this term and not really sure. So FAANG, FAANG, is it used to be called Facebook, but it's now Meta, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. So big tech. When you have big tech companies, you know, the largest tech companies in the game, the most important tech companies in the world, they made up the acronym of FAANG. And these are companies that stock had a tremendous rise over the last decade. Not this year, but the last decade, all of these companies' stocks did tremendously well. And there was, you know, they did so well that, you know, people really thought that those were the primary companies that you should invest in and focus your energy in those companies. But obviously times have changed. Meta struggling. Apple is still doing well. Amazon is going to be in good shape, Amazon and Google, but it hasn't done well in the last 18 months when you look at this chart. And Netflix has done terrible. So you, Ian, have proposed a new acronym called
No, this is proposed by analysts, earlier this week. I have a theory though.
I thought it was you. I wanted to give you credit. I didn't know, you know.
I appreciate the lie, but I don't want them to think that I'm jacking their phrase. The one that we have, I think, is a lot better, but I think it's really interesting. I have a theory though that people have been watching the show quietly and wait till we produce and release the show and then talk about the things we've been talking about after. So this list, shout out to Montana, looks a lot like the stocks that we've talked about here before. So Microsoft, absolutely. One of my babies, I love you dearly. Apple, absolutely amazing. Tesla, Alphabet or Google, Nvidia, we'll talk about that in a few, and Amazon. So is Montana the new FAANG?
We're gonna call it Montana.
So shout out to French. So let's go through this. Let's go through this one by one. Microsoft,
amazing.
Let's do this. Let's talk about, like, let's spend like 1 minute on each company and explain why it's a good company, why it's a bad company, what our thoughts on it. Microsoft, I know that's something that you obviously have been bullish on for a long period of time. Why are you so bullish on Microsoft? Why you want
me to go? All right, I'll start, Ian, and if I miss something, you pick it up. All right, so Microsoft, it should, I don't even mean, when they had the FAANG thing, I don't even know why Microsoft wouldn't have been part of it, but it's perfect that this is in the Montana. Microsoft core business to business, they kill. Cloud service, they kill. Gaming, they kill. What else?
They have software on 85% of the computers in all of the world. That alone is enough for me.
There's 4 reasons why. That should, I mean, it should have been on it already.
All right. Yeah. So there's that for Microsoft. Apple, I mean, pretty self-explanatory at this point.
Greatest company ever publicly traded.
Tesla, this is something that is a very volatile situation, very, very volatile CEO. What about Tesla? Why is Tesla a good company to invest in? Or is it a good company to invest in?
Definitely a good company to invest in. I like, leadership. So for me, when evaluating what to invest in terms of the fundamentals, the first thing I'm looking at is the founder, because the company is going to have the DNA or the habits or traits of the founder in it. Even though Elon is volatile in some areas, you cannot deny that he is a genius for sure. Probably a hybrid of Einstein and Steve Jobs rolled into one. And he's the only person that's been able to make electronic vehicles sexy. Like, we were the only Black men that made investing sexy for our community. So when you're able to move a market, be a visionary leader, be a part of PayPal Mafia, the secrets that he holds are like unlike any other. And of course, California, of course, declared in 2035, all gas vehicles will be banned. They will go to EV. Therefore, California will be first. I think New York will be second. Texas will be third. Now he's looking at a 30 or 40 year window. where if you think electronic vehicle, you automatically, he is the Mercedes-Benz of the EV market.
Mhm.
You don't want a Prius. I want the Phantom that look like a Phantom. Shout to Diddy, right? So if you're thinking electronic vehicle, if you're going to brand or market share recognition, they are number one in that space and they have no close competitors. Amazing company.
I agree with everything you just said. I probably would put Texas number 2 only because they're rarely building the facilities there. So like when you take the right, exactly. The largest population by state is California. So you make a move like that in California. 2035 sounds like a long way away, but it's not really when you talk about technology. And they're preparing for it, right? If they're the leader of the space and this is the most populated state in the country, that's a big market, and that will set the trend for the rest of the states. So yeah, I think first California, then Texas, and then New York will adopt it, and then once those 3 states have it, forget about it.
Everyone else fall in place.
Yeah, and from a technology standpoint too, what they're doing from the solar standpoint, from the batteries, being able to lease that out, I'm sure at some point to other companies. Yeah, Tesla's one of them. You got to have.
It's currently at $270. It's split.
Yeah, 1 to 3.
It split a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So long term, Tesla is something that you believe in because they're going to have competition. They're going to have competition from Apple. They're going to have competition from a variety of different people.
Yeah. Apple's going to be their biggest competitor if they ever release that car or that truck. That's the only one I'm worried about. GM and Ford, I'm not worried about. They'll be laggards behind. But Apple is the one they should be most worried about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Alphabet, which for anybody that doesn't know, Alphabet is the parent company of Google. So Google is a very impressive company. They own the company that we're on right now, which is YouTube. Very, very big part of their portfolio.
Yes.
You know, they have the number 1 and number 2 search engines because Google is the number 1 search engine. YouTube is the number 2 search engine. So they pretty much control the internet.
And I could argue they have the number 1 entertainment model for content ever created.
The number 1 entertainment model?
Yes.
As in, like, put your content on here for free. We'll figure out what's hot.
And I'll pay you after it produces.
I'll pay you after it's hot.
The opposite of Netflix.
Yeah, we'll pay you after it's hot. We'll pay you, and we'll take 30% of what we're going to pay you.
No,
yeah,
or they'll frame it as, well, we'll allow us to keep 30% and you have 70, which even if you look for most entertainers, that's a pretty good split. You've never heard any issues with YouTube keeping their publishing forever or rights to the show, or even in some cases like with Amazon, which we'll talk about, you don't see Google remixing shows. They didn't make their own version of Mr. Beast. They let Mr. Beast coexist and just live. So also they are a non-competitor to the creatives that are on that platform, which is amazing. So I think they have the best business model ever for entertainment.
Yeah. I just realized something, and we'll talk about this later on, but Tesla, Google, NVIDIA, Amazon, and Apple, for that matter, what do they all have in common?
This is a good trick question. I don't know. You stop me. Go ahead. Let me phone a friend. Let me phone you. What do they have in common?
within the last, I want to say 18, but definitely in the last 24, just to be safe. But I'll say maybe in the last 18, they all split their stock.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was that it? All right, let's have this conversation. Because they all split their stock. Why is it beneficial for a company to split their stock?
I mean, especially now if you are in a recession or money is getting tight. So if you have a company, let's say like Neo, and current price of Neo is at $17.73. Even if you wanted to invest in Apple, let's say if it was like $5.90 per share, historically, you're going to be like, let me get the one at 17. And even if it goes up to 21, I have a chance of making some money. So it's very smart for companies that have major market share, like a true loyal fan base and high volume to split, so the cost basis will be lower. So pension funds can invest in them, hedge funds, and also retail investors and international investors as well. Because at one point, Amazon was so expensive, you wouldn't even think it was like the cost of a mortgage for one share. Now that it's down, I think people are going to pile into it more. Same for Apple, same for Tesla. I think it's really smart that Elon has done 3 splits in the last 2 years to keep that price down. So that's the number one competitive reason, is to make the price affordable so more people can pile into it.
Yeah, more affordability, more profitability, more retail investors get involved. It's the number one reason, right? It looks more attractive when Amazon is $131 compared to $3,700.
Absolutely.
Right? Even if you're buying fractional shares, now you literally can buy a share.
Yeah, and we've seen this with Berkshire Hathaway. If we look at Berkshire Hathaway Class A shares, Class A shares, excuse me, it's $417,940 for one share.
Good.
Berkshire Hathaway B shares, cheaper version, is $277. So we've seen this before. I think it's a great adjustment for sure. And Apple, if people don't remember, during their last recession was not a fan favorite. It was volatile like Tesla. So to now have a leadership position, you want to keep that base of investors. And people can say that it doesn't matter when the price doesn't go down in the company. We know people are publicly traded companies. It does have a negative effect on the employee base and company morale when your stock is getting beat up.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Whole foot going up. I know they can't stand it.